What I see is a lot of neighborhoods in disrepair, a lot of neighborhoods in decline from just simply cutting the right-of-ways. And what we have to let citizens know is it's important for us to keep our communities clean, not just in an election year. We can't just prioritize community services in an election year. We have to make sure that we're keeping the right-of-ways clean. We're doing the water and sewer work. A lot of neighbors or a lot of residents here in the Cooper Road area, they experience a lot of flooding when it rains. Very little rain can cause an individual's house to flood here in the Cooper Road area. Again, that's rain that we can be capturing and reusing, but no one should be relocated or dislocated because of that. And so I think we can do quite a bit. We have good housing stock in the areas, and so we can do things such as invest, reuse that housing stock, rehabilitate that housing stock, and really grow the areas. A lot of blight. I'd like to see us get serious about blight and tackling blight in all areas, not just the Cooper Road area, all areas, because blight is one of the things that lead to crime. And when you start leading to crime, there's a sense of insecurity and a sense of I'm not a priority to my community and to my overall city. And so that's what I see when because I drive around frequently. We can partner with Southern University Shreveport right here. Their Image Changers program they have. There's Youth Build at Southern University Shreveport to build, because that's what they do is they teach young individuals how to get a skill set. So not only are we addressing the issue of blighted property, vacant lots, economic development, but we're also providing job readiness and job skill training to young individuals who need that vital skill. With I-49 North opening up, there's plenty of opportunity. We have to go out, we have to market it. What I was big about was making sure that we had a census tract here in MLK in those opportunity zones that came out of the 2017 Tax Cut Act. And so Southern University, this tract of land that we're sitting in is part of an opportunity zone. So investors who want to invest will be able to come in and invest their resources, but we want to make sure that those resources are tied to tangible job training skills and tangible job growth. We're not looking, and so part of that is making sure that we have the zoning to be able to do it. If you can't zone a halfway house within 1,000 feet of each other, you shouldn't be able to zone a liquor store within 1,000 feet. You shouldn't be able to zone a payday lending place within 1,000 feet. So we have to be smart about our zoning, and we have to be very intentional about what we want the neighborhood to look like. And so I could see a mixture of some eateries here. I can see a mixture of some grocery stores, but I'd like to make sure that focus is local. We don't necessarily have to have a chain store come in. We don't have to have a Target come here. I think there's enough local entrepreneurs. The hair store next door is a great example. If we just supported our local businesses in our own communities, it's an opportunity to really grow the neighborhood and keep the dollars circulating right here in the MLK area.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully this will be the last mayoral candidate who will need to advocate for pre-K youth in our city. Mm-hmm. And so tell us why this is so important to you at this time.
Well, it's important to me as well as the state, the nation, locally, and at the state level. We don't fund pre-K at the state level from the state of Louisiana. There are some grants out there to school districts that allow pre-K to be funded. That's sort of a pilot model. The local district is not mandated to do it. And so either it's sort of an opportunity for the districts to go ahead and set up their own model, or the children will either go without. Fortunately, here in Caddo Parish, we have sort of a pilot model, but one of the things that I often hear people talk about is equity. There's not a lot of dollars that go around that are allocated for it because resources are limited. We don't have a endless resource pool of money to derive those dollars from. What I want to start out by saying is there is a difference between pre-K and Head Start. And that's what I want folks to, because I know there was a little debate last night about folks have pre-K centers in every neighborhood. What you have in every neighborhood is a Head Start center, which is the Caddo Community Action Agency. They do a great job. But the Caddo Community Action Agency is a program that is tied to federal mandates. They have a federal curriculum, and they do a great job. But it's so income restrictive. It's solely based on the income requirements. And what we want to do is we want to make it to where that working mother who wakes up every day, go to work, is not putting out 20% of her paycheck to have to pay for daycare. And so as mayor, and a lot of people, that's another part of the conversation is, as the mayor, is pre-K, is education really your priority? What I tell people is education is economics. A lot of times they don't see the proposals that we get from companies. The companies, and I was glad to see Amazon do what they did. Amazon issued a competitive RFP for their worldwide global distribution center. And in that RFP, what you will see is they have requirements of what they like to see cities and municipalities do. And one of those requirements was, what is your commitment and investment in education at the earliest age? And so when developers come and when companies come, they want to see, how have you invested in your workforce? Because these are the people, we're going to be here for 20 or 30 years. More than likely, we're going to have individuals a part of this community, part of our workforce. And so we want to make sure that we have an educated workforce. One of the issues that we often run into when folks are looking to choose between us and Longview or us and Dallas or Shreveport and Houston is, can we get a skilled workforce? That's often the issue. And we know that pre-K throughout the country, there's a model and there's data to back it up that says individuals who start out early with pre-K have a higher chance of success when they can identify those numbers, those shapes, those letters. When they hit to kindergarten, they're more often than not to succeed. So we don't have to deal with problems on the back end. I think we'll get into a little bit more of that. But I want folks to know, as mayor, I think education and partnering with our school board, our local school board, is very important. It's imperative that we work with our school board, work with our school system, work with our partners who are doing education literacy like Step Forward, organizations such as the North Louisiana Academy. I've dealt with crime from a personal aspect. My family and I have dealt with this issue from my earliest age. I grew up in a single mother household, and I lost my father to senseless acts of violence, which caused us to actually have to relocate from one part of town to another, so that, like any single mother who wanted her children to grow up in a safe environment. I grew up in what it was historically known as Allendale, or very close to the Bottoms. And so I lost my father to violence. Love him and miss him, but would have loved to have grown up with the father. And then I lost my brother while I was in high school, actually performing at Centenary College at a basketball game. Got called out of that performance to find that my brother had been the victim of crime as well. And so it's personal to me that some of the senseless crimes that we see now is very personal to me. I see it, I know the pain that a lot of those mothers, those family members, those sisters and brothers who have to go and bury their loved ones. So it's a personal issue. The other thing is, I'm the only candidate in the race that has articulated how we can integrate technology, how we can integrate mental health providers into our process. And so, we have a very collective, comprehensive approach to crime. We try to get down into the details and actually try to talk about how do we solve the root causes of crime. Because a lot of times what we see is just arrest and recidivism. And so what we have to do is we have to work on giving individuals, as I say, we have an opportunity agenda, an opportunity to do better for themselves with regards to their economic plight, and move the city forward and make sure that individuals are safe in their communities, safe when they're sitting at the street light, safe while they're at work. And so I think a lot of it is a byproduct of our economic situation. A lot of it is a byproduct of individuals who make acts of desperation. And so we have a very full grasp on the issue of crime. No, I'm not a law enforcement officer. I've never put on a police uniform before. I want to thank the men and women before we go any forward of the Shreveport Police Department for sacrificing every day. Our Caddo Parish Sheriff's Department, our Louisiana State Police for sacrificing daily putting their lives on the line to keep our community safe and protected. And so we don't underestimate what they do. We're not here to undermine what they're doing, but we're just here to talk about what we see as a leader setting forth the vision for a difference, making a difference with our crime issue.
Awesome. Let's turn to the details
Okay,
specifically.
sure.
Okay. So one of the things you've said specifically is that you're going to be strongest on deterring and detecting crime in the first place, and you focused a lot on technology. But tell us more holistically, how are we in the short term going to really rapidly bring down the crime rate? And I think street reporters like myself we are most offended by the violent crime rate in this city. Tell us what you think we can do on this front.
Well, first, I think we have to address our leadership issue. Without question, we have to talk about the leadership issue. I'm committed to at least a national process, a very thorough search. That doesn't mean that the person, I don't want that to be construed as the person will be somebody who's an outsider. I tell people I'm not married to a person or particular persons. I want the process to be thorough. I want to include our local police association. I want to include the community in that process so that we make the best decision for the person, the man or woman, who can come in and lead our department and restore confidence in our rank and file officers. And so, like I said, I'm not married to a particular person.
You have said before that you think we need a nationwide search for a new police chief?
Correct, a national search.
Okay.
And again, whoever rises up, that person may be sitting right here in Shreveport.
Uh-huh.
But I think we have to at least entertain the best and brightest ideas of the individuals who lead to lead our department. And I don't think we should necessarily just limit that. But that's not to say I don't want folks to think that I'm insinuating that there's not someone who is here local or who's here within our state or who may be working in another parish or city here in Louisiana who may not be best fit. What I'm saying is let's open the process up, because when we're talking about leading a department, the men and women, they're putting their life on the line. They're doing the best that they can, and they deserve leadership.
Cool. So one of the things that we're going to do, if I hear you right, is new leadership at the police station.
Correct.
At police headquarters. Cool. And you've said a lot about where those folks might come from and some of what their qualifications would be. What else do you think it's going to take to rapidly decrease the violent crime rate?
Well, I've been an advocate. I've been an active proponent of doing crime technology deterrent, integrating technology into our crime fighting strategies, such as gunshot detection, such as crime cameras. We have to integrate technology into our crime fighting strategies. One of the ways to deter crime is to better detect crime. And I think we have to do a better job at when individuals know that they're going to be caught. It's a deterrent. One of the best ways to prevent the crime that has not happened is how you deal with the crime that you're dealing with now, particularly violent crime. When folks know that they have a high propensity of getting caught, individuals think twice about doing it. And so the other thing that I'd like to see us do is focus on a more community-oriented approach, not just when the cameras come on, we're waving and smiling, doing the things that we're supposed to do. But I would like to incentivize and encourage police officers to live in some of the areas that they patrol. This would not be a mandate, it would be voluntary. And those individuals would receive I'd like us to look at some sort of down payment assistance, soft seconds for those men and women who would like to be there, so that we can increase our response time. But we can also, those days of officers walking their beat, knowing who the neighbors are, and we have that quite a bit. A lot of times when people see that police vehicle parked, that's a deterrent. And so, how better off would we be if we had that officer who knocks on the door every other day or so at a random citizen's house just to say, have you seen anything out of the norm here? Or is out playing basketball with the kids, just out of the complete norm, not necessarily in his or her uniform, but just in general. And so I think those are some things that we can do to start addressing our violent crime. It instills trust in our community so that when we have these things that happen, we're not trying to, it doesn't take an act of Congress to get evidence and to get individuals to participate. Well, there are a host of industries that we can move into to help out balance a trade problem. We're sitting here in Agora Borealis where you had a young entrepreneur, a millennial, who decided to step up and take her own destiny into her own hands. She jumped off the edge and become an entrepreneur. And as you said, these are local products that are right here, from clothing to technology. And so what we can do is we have to invest in our local entrepreneurs. We have to make it a priority. I'd like to see us, I've always been an advocate of the Shop Local weekend that we do here in Shreveport the day after Thanksgiving. But why don't we have a week of that, or designate a week out of every month to say we're going to support local businesses doing those things. We can also do make sure that we're bringing in investors, outside investors. We have our EAP Angel Fund that's looking for investors. I'd like to see us do like a citywide think tank, Shark Tank, where the best and brightest ideas are put together in a contest to see who we're going to invest in as a local community. It has to be totally local. You can't be from the outside, or if you're going to come in from the outside, you have to make at least a 2 or 3 year commitment to hone your product here, grow your product here, scale it here, because we want those jobs here, and the more dollars that we keep circulating in our local economy. People don't like to talk about taxes a lot, but the reality is we got asked a question yesterday at the debate about revenue sharing. The city of Shreveport doesn't do revenue sharing. We're not like the school board. The school board has an MFP formula. Our higher education institutions, they have tuition and fees that they charge students, and they share that revenue with the state of Louisiana. The city of Shreveport, we don't. We have to generate all of our revenue, and that revenue is generated by, more often than not, local sales taxes. And so when we, like you said, buy this microphone, how much of those dollars are actually staying in Shreveport? And so our balance of trade problem can be addressed by making sure that we're investing, we equipping them. We used to do what was called pop-up shops. We got that from Birmingham, where they were doing pop-ups where local businesses would compete, and they would get free rental space in an empty building. We partnered with the DDA and DSDU and a local bank, and it helped so many entrepreneurs. I remember Saucy Cafe got an opportunity to showcase her product to all of Shreveport and anybody passing through. We had a couple of arts and crafts, and those folks end up getting like a year's lease, free lease somewhere, so that they can scale their business up and create wealth for themselves.
I'm going to unpack a little bit of what's in there.
Sure.
And forgive us, the railroad passed by right across the street.
Right. We need to be bringing goods. We need to be bringing commerce in on that train.
Right now, it's just passing through.
It's just passing through.
It's passing right through.
It comes in, it takes a break.
Stops to honk,
right.
and then it keeps going.
And then it keeps going.
That's
and so
right.
what we have to do is, while that train is sitting, we have to be putting products on that train to get it out to the rest of the world, because it's going to stop somewhere else.
We haven't had time in the forums to get into specifically what that looks like. So at the broadest level, what would you do to attract outside companies? Who do you have in mind, and how do you think we can get enough companies to invest here that we could show a rapid type of job growth in just a few years' time?
Well, we have to have a real robust economic development team of economic development professionals. Those are individuals who are certified economic development trained individuals. We have a couple of them here with the North Louisiana Economic Partnership. I'd also like to see them working. I haven't talked about it in a while, but it's part of my priorities is a chief innovation officer, working with that chief innovation officers so that we chart a new course, move the red tape, move the barriers to startup, because companies don't want to come and say, oh, we'll get ready. They want to know that you're ready when they come. The other thing that I think we could do, we have to work on our incentive package. We should have a package ready to go to put in their hands when they come to the door. Here's your pilot, here's the TIF district, here are the state layered incentives that you can receive, because that's part of it. We can pave the street. You'll be surprised, a lot of folks just want us to put in a rail spur. And so those are the things that I think that we can do to attract those outside businesses. We also have to make sure that we have a skilled and ready workforce when they come. So that means connecting those high school students who may not go off to college, connecting them to job training at the earliest age. But then again, we have to go back a little earlier. That's why I'm a huge advocate of doing universal pre-K at this level, because without it, our children are starting at a disadvantage already. And so there's so many layers to the.
What's the
workforce
relationship
development.
between pre-K? You have mentioned pre-K
Yeah.
each of the times that we've had these conversations, and at every forum you have brought up that you, and I believe you're the only candidate, although a couple candidates at the last forum I attended later followed on and said
Yeah.
it could be pre-K or something, we don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
But you said from the beginning, I'm going to roll out universal pre-K
Yes.
and I'm going to pay for it.
Yes.
What is the relationship between that and economic development, and in particular outside companies?
Well, we know what if you talk to employers in town, they will tell you that the skills gap that we have, there's a skills gap. We have jobs, but we can't find the skilled workforce or workers to put them in. And what is happening is you have folks who are sort of in this sort of holding pattern. And so pre-K, we know that individuals who start at grade level, ready to read, ready to do math, ready to write, they have an advantage to do better later on in life. Third grade reading tests are determine the outcome a lot of time of how well a person will do. Now, I can tell you from experience, I'm an exception to that because I was all through high school, I was just a C student. I never performed above average. It wasn't until I got to college, again, an HBCU that takes those diamonds in the rough. And I got to start doing those internships. I got to start doing those in the field training where I actually start learning some of the practical knowledges and applications that it takes in my field of study. So the workforce development piece and universal pre-K, in my opinion, go hand in hand because what you have to understand is the more educated workforce that you have, you're breaking down barriers of poverty. Generational poverty is a lot of time. And so that's why I think that those two have to be a primary focus. I work with Southern University of Shreveport with their workforce development arm, Youth Build, actually connecting people. If you have a contractor coming into town to build something, why are they contracting with Southern University's workforce development program? They have students over there who know how to work with their hands, who know how to do carpentry. And so that's opportunity, one, to save money, but two, to teach a skill set.